Would you do something with me, Lloyd?
I can't recall a single scene from a movie that does what we're about to see here. After leaving the theater, it was this scene that had me saying to myself, incredible. I can't believe what I just witnessed. I can't believe what they did in that scene, what they managed to accomplish.
Try to remember that your relationship with your father also helped to shape those parts. He helped you become what you are.
This is where the movie invites the audience to join in, to become an active participant in the film. And I don't think I can recall a moment in a film where this has been done deliberately for this specific purpose, or at least done in a way that's as emotionally resonant as it is here. I know there are other films that have, after the fact, become audience participation events. This is different. In this movie, this is a silent meditation that starts off in its own world, but very quickly recruits the viewer to not just watch the scene, but to become the scene. And it's very effective. It leaves quite an impression on the viewer. It starts off with the simple enough request from Mr. Rogers to Lloyd, and by extension to us.
Would you do something with me, Lloyd?
Before we jump to the specific exercise in question, let's start off just a few seconds before it, in the same scene, to appreciate the beautiful setup that's going to lead to an even greater payoff. By the time we arrive at the restaurant scene, we're an hour and 10 minutes into the story, and the film has firmly established Lloyd's reservations about having been assigned by his Esquire magazine supervisor to write some 400-word story on Fred, aka Mr. Rogers, who was super famous at this time among parents and children alike. She informs Lloyd that writing this profile would be especially good for him, and she'd turn out to be right, probably more right than Lloyd is prepared for. Because of his own personal childhood baggage, and despite being married to a loving, supportive wife, Lloyd is a lot like a lot of people these days. He's a cynic. He's dissuaded about his life and life in general. And he doesn't have much faith that this Mr. Rogers fellow is going to be any less of a disappointment as a human being to him as the other people that have let him down in his life, particularly his father. Fortunately for Lloyd, Fred Rogers was not your typical human being. And through their interactions, Fred gradually erodes Lloyd's skepticism.
Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can.
And by the time we're seated in the booth with these two characters, even though Lloyd's cynicism has waned, Lloyd's negative self-perception still remains firmly intact. However, paradoxically, as part of Lloyd's vetting process for his article, getting to know Fred better likely contributes to his heightened sense of inferiority, since Lloyd can't muster the will to feel good about, or at least contextualize his own history. And this serves to lend this scene even more emotional weight. It's really all in the setup. It's done brilliantly. Here it is.
You love people like me.
What are people like you? I've never met anyone like you in my entire life.
Broken people.
I don't think you were broken.
In any good story, the protagonist is well matched with an appropriate foil. Of course, in this scene, the typical protagonist versus antagonist angle is essentially inverted, since it's Fred, the antagonist to Lloyd, who represents the positive force here. Of course, Lloyd isn't an anti-hero, but he is flawed. And before doing anything, Fred starts off by reminding Lloyd of his humanity, but again, also by contextualizing it to Lloyd. So Lloyd has to consider himself through that lens. Apologies for the cliche.
I know you are a man of conviction. A person who knows the difference between what is wrong and what is right. Try to remember that your relationship with your father also helped to shape those parts. He helped you become what you are.
Great scenes don't have to beat you over the head. Pay attention to the next 7 seconds of this scene, paused here, because it's really worthy of our attention. Great acting / direction coming up here. Great subtle work by Matthew Rhys. Notice how he shows Lloyd slowly conceding the point that Fred's about to make here, with a slight nod, a slight swallow in the throat, and a slow upward glance back at Fred as it dawns on him the truth of his words. Excellent stuff.
He helped you become what you are.
Great scenes and by extension, great films are made up of little moments just like this when they're executed this well. Because of the quiet nature of the conversation, it's kind of easy to lose sight of the fact that this is a scene of conflict, of stark contrast between the characters. But because it's between two sensitive adults, the conflict is productive. It's an agreeable kind of disagreeableness. By the way, this is how well-adjusted, well-formed human beings can resolve conflicts or differences, provided they're open enough, like Lloyd is, to put their pride away and let their guard down from time to time. And with Lloyd's guard now down, and with Fred having earned his trust, we're back where we started, at the single most poignant moment in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. And to me, easily one of the greatest scenes in all of film in recent years. This scene is so effective and moving. I don't want to interrupt it with voiceover, but I will put commentary in the reduced frame to allow it to play. By the way, if you happen to miss this movie, this is one to check out. You'll feel a little better about the world.
Would you do something with me, Lloyd? It's an exercise I like to do sometimes. We'll just take a minute and think about all the people who loved us into being.
I can't do that.
They will come to you. Just 1 minute of silence. Thank you for doing that with me. I feel so much better.
I know this will be pretty obvious since I was kind of gushing over that scene, but I wanted to mention something anyway. I really enjoyed this entire film beyond that tremendous scene, because it's one of those increasingly rare stories that makes you feel better about the world we live in. And this one manages to do that while remaining grounded in reality, A reality we can relate to anyway, despite taking some fair artistic liberties. I think that's quite a testament and a fitting tribute to the late Fred Rogers, who, while not the subject of this film, is without a doubt the heart of it. My only regret is that we are not getting more films, positive films like this made. I think we could all use more stories, particularly new ones, in a spirit similar to this. If just to balance our current climate of nihilistic, pessimistic, violent fare we're getting offered more and more of each day, we'd be better off for it.
I feel so much better.
Thanks for listening.